There's a tree not far from where I live that I always slow down for. It isn't the tallest, it isn't the oldest. In fact, if you were looking for the perfect tree, you would probably walk straight past it. At some point in its life, something happened. Maybe it was a storm, maybe another tree fell across its path. Maybe the ground beneath it shifted. Whatever it was, instead of growing straight towards the sky, its trunk bends almost sideways, before it slowly finds its way upward again. Every time I see it, I wonder, what happened? What did that tree have to grow through to end up looking the way it does? And then I catch myself asking a different question. Who decided that straight was the way it was supposed to grow in the first place? Welcome to What Would They Say?
Before we begin today, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're recording, the Wanneroo people, and pay our respects to elders past and present. For tens of thousands of years, the Wanneroo people have cared for this country through deep relationship, observation and respect. Their knowledge reminds us that there is wisdom in slowing down, in paying attention, and in understanding that we are not separate from the world around us, but part of it. As we share today's conversation, we're grateful for the opportunity to learn, live, and create on country that has held stories, seasons, and generations of connection long before we arrived.
If I don't expect too much, I cannot disappoint myself. And if there's one thing low self-worth loves to do, it's collect evidence that it was right all along. How is this my life? I had never once looked at that tree and thought, you should have grown straighter.
If you could just see yourself from the eyes of those people around you, you would think that you were worthy of that.
Hi, Megan.
Hello.
It's been a little while since we've been in the studio by ourselves together.
It has.
We've had a bit going on. We've had some exciting stuff happen.
It's been amazing.
You have had a beautiful couple of days.
I have. Yeah, a couple of days away out the Barrington Tops with the lyrebirds and the mushrooms. I've got a new button.
Oh. I was quite jealous of your lyrebird photos and of the amount of pictures of mushrooms.
So many mushrooms.
Who even are you?
I don't know. But I loved it.
Did I mention that Megan Scott messaged me a few weeks ago and said, "What have you done to my wife?" Because it was nighttime and Megan was traipsing through the bush looking for mushrooms.
And I did it again the other night. Nighttime bush walks. They're the best.
How good.
So great.
I love this for you. I had a lovely morning myself today. It's such a sunny, beautiful winter's day. And I went out to a beautiful property that is quite close to my heart. It's owned by a very dear friend. And we had coffee looking out over the mountains, listening to the birds and some really lovely deep conversation. And I appreciated it so much. And we put some plans together. So since our retreat, we have had quite a few people saying, when is the next one? And I do understand that taking a whole weekend out of your life, especially when it's a Friday and you have to organise days off work, can be difficult for women when we've got kids and jobs and all of the things that we take care of. So what I have decided is that maybe we can have some little interim day retreats. And I have been working on a nature therapy / wellness / self-care day program that we will be offering. It will be on the website by the time this episode comes out. It will be held at this beautiful property at Brunkerville. And for those who attended the first If These Trees Could Heal retreat, they will understand that when I say a property is beautiful, that I really mean it. Mm-hmm. This place is incredible, a little bit closer to us and to some of our listeners, but still very accessible for people who are travelling. And I'm really excited to be able to put this program together. So instead of having to pack all your camping gear and arrange care and someone to feed the animals and all of the decision making that comes with taking a full weekend out, all you need to do is just turn up in the morning. You will get a whole day of incredible self-care, and then you just get to go home in time for dinner on Sunday night and head back into your week feeling rejuvenated and refreshed and a little bit more connected to yourself is what I'm hoping for. The beautiful Anne Mooney will be joining us for yoga and meditation. She was an integral part of our retreat and people's ability to be able to enjoy that space. So I'm really excited that she will be joining us for this one. So if this is something you might be interested in, again, the numbers are going to be small. Small groups is how I work best, and that's how we build community effectively. So it's not a sit on it and wait. We will have an expression of interest form there. And those people, again, will get first priorities once bookings are available. Now to get to where we're going today. I will remind you of that time just, a few episodes ago where you recorded your episode, Diary of a Grey Area Drinker. And for people who listened to that episode, you'll know that Megan pulled a very shifty move. She invited me into the studio under the pretense that I was interviewing her and gave me absolutely no idea of what the topic was.
Am I interviewing you today?
Well, that's kind of what I indicated might be happening, but it's not going to look exactly like that. That experience was mildly traumatic for me.
Sorry about that.
So I'm going to keep you dangling as a little bit of payback.
Thanks.
This is still going to be my diary, sort of, just in a different way, because I know your strengths, and Megan is brilliant at asking questions that make me think differently. She is a coach by nature, and she is also very good at gently pulling the threads until I end up somewhere I wasn't expecting.
2 years into a podcast?
Well, this is how the whole podcast started.
Yep.
You started pulling threads and I unraveled. I do trust you enormously, and you have watched a fair chunk of this journey from the front row. You have challenged me more times than I can count, and you also have this annoying ability to ask exactly the question I was hoping you would skip. So today, rather than asking you to interview me, I'm inviting you into a conversation that has already been happening inside of my head.
Oh, yay. I've always wanted to be inside of your head, understand what goes on in there.
You know that my one goal is to traumatise you, so here we are.
Excellent.
So when we first talked about me doing my own diary episode, I realised that there was one topic that I have been quietly wrestling with for years, and that is success. Now, I don't want you guys to settle in expecting the TED Talk level personal revelation that Megan delivered in The Diary of a Grey Area Drinker. That's just not who I am. I'm much more likely to circle an idea for 3 years, collect evidence that reinforces why I don't deserve it, and then make random observations in the bush that challenge my maladaptive belief systems. accidentally have an existential crisis and then ring my psychologist to see if any of it actually makes sense. And here I should also probably admit something before we start. I may have had a slight unfair advantage today because I did talk this whole episode through with my psychologist before I wrote it. So if this conversation sounds a little bit more organised in my head than usual, that is because I've already had one very good sounding board and now I have another sitting across from me.
Wow. Thank you for putting me in the same boat as your psychologist.
And for the good of us all, I am trying very hard to avoid the rabbit holes of my brain, which you 100% need a degree in psychology to navigate. So let's see where this goes. I've kind of broken this up into 3 sections and I'm going to tell you what the sections are so we stay on track. The first one is called The Scorecard Never Fit Me. I think before we talk about what success is, I have to explain why it has been such a complicated word for me. Because if I am honest, I don't think I've ever really believed that success was something that belonged to people like me. Growing up and even into adulthood, success always seemed to have a scorecard, good grades, a good career, money, recognition, goals, 5-year plans, confidence. People who knew where they were heading. I'm looking at one of those people. And it was her who first challenged me around this. So I think you will be a good person to be able to make observations as we move through this. Are you feeling comfortable with doing that?
I'm not feeling comfortable with your analogy of me just there, but I'm feeling comfortable to sit through this conversation. It doesn't sound anywhere near as bad as some of the other shit you made me sit through.
I think you are a very successful person, Megan.
Thanks.
Oh, look, I'm going to bring this up later. People just accepting compliments. I've spoken pretty openly over the years about living with borderline personality disorder and suicidality and a lot of what came in the before and after of my struggles with mental health. For a long time, I just did not trust myself, my self-worth, my value. Most days I wasn't even sure I liked myself, let alone believed I was capable of building something successful. So the idea of setting goals felt terrifying because goals come with the possibility of failing. And if there's one thing low self-worth loves to do, it's collect evidence that it was right all along. So somewhere along the way, I developed this little survival strategy. If I don't expect too much, I cannot disappoint myself. If I don't define success, I can't fail at being successful. It wasn't a healthy strategy, but it was a protective one. I know you notice these things because, as I mentioned, you are still surprised every time someone pays me a compliment and I simply say thank you. You've pointed that out to me before on several occasions. I am getting better at accepting them.
Good on you. Say thank you.
Thank you. Because what I would do is immediately dismiss. Like if they said, gee, you did a really good job of that. My number one statement, and I have probably said it 35 times on this podcast in, what have we done, 60 episodes. I do things I have no business doing. And that's my way of worming out of I'm having a go at this thing, but if it fails, I don't actually know what I'm doing. So that's kind of okay, right? This is where that all comes from.
I feel like after 60 episodes, you've got a bit of business being a podcaster.
Maybe, but we said the same thing with Auntie Brenda just the other week. I listened to the episode today where she said we were the knowledge holders around doing a podcast and both of our responses was, oh, no, we don't know how to do it. It's self-deprecating humour, but it comes from a real space.
But you move the goalposts because we do know how to podcast because I went back and listened to the Lyrebird episode yesterday because of the Lyrebird that I saw on the weekend, and I was very critical of my editing, and I have much higher expectations of myself on what podcasting is. And I feel like the more you know about a topic, the more you realize you know nothing about that topic.
Well, it's how you build mastery, right? It's you do the time in the battlefield before you get good at the thing. And because I'm someone who has stern beliefs in myself, if I'm not good at the thing, then I don't deserve to try to get good at it, right? So the fact that we're still here, my goal at the start was we're going to make it to 10 episodes.
I'm interested in where the goalposts are now because you had another goal after that about followers and downloads and...
I also set those goals because you asked me to.
Sorry about that.
Because what I figured out by looking at this is I don't actually give a shit about the numbers.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's not where the payoff comes from me.
I think the other problem with measuring, let's say, quantitatively is that...
Because we're scientists now.
Is that it lags, like the work that we do today. The quantitative data for this is not going to be visible properly forever if it stays on the internet. We will never have that final number.
No. And I think about that. I think that's the magic of what we're doing because say someone Googles grey area drinking in 65 years from now, they're still going to find your episode.
That scares the shit out of me. That really, really scares me.
But it's not that thing that you offered to the world. You put it out there and it belongs to the world and you no longer have control over it. Mm-hmm. It'll find the people that need it. I think that's magical. I want to make an important distinction because it's not that I can't recognise success as a whole. I absolutely can and I celebrate it deeply, just not when it's mine. If it's yours, 100%. If it's one of my friends, absolutely. And what we just mentioned about what those things are, like examples of things that matter to me are, you seen my reaction after Auntie Brenda said yes? Like I cried for days. I couldn't talk to people. Not only did she agree to talk to us, she wanted to travel here and stay with us so she could have that conversation with us face to face. Like
it was pretty special. After she left, you said, "How is this my life?"
I know. And this is the thing that I have been pondering in the lead up to this because in that sort of over that 2-week period, there was a whole heap of things that made me go, how is this my life? I'll mention a few of them. I was invited to be a part of an ecological study. Like, wow, that was like
proper scientists.
Incredible. We had the retreat with such beautiful feedback and I had grown so much through that experience and my belief in myself and just being able to be a part of that group for that time was such a valuable experience for me. I had a phone call from a previous guest and he'll know who I'm talking about. He still listens to all of our episodes where he wanted to talk through like a major decision in his life and he said, "Can I call you? Because I trust you to give me good advice on this." Now, this is someone who I was nervous about introducing myself to and saying, "Hey, I've got a podcast and I'd really like to hear more about your story. Would you be willing to talk to us?" That same person who I was nervous to speak to now calls me for trusted advice. That's pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. Doug, who we interviewed a couple of weekends ago, sent me the manuscript to his book that he's about to release. And he was like, "Would you please read this and give me some feedback?" And I was like, absolutely. And now he has asked me to interview him for the promotional material that's going out with it. Like, how is this my life? We've got Laurie, who just won this massive mental health award.
Congratulations, Laurie.
Oh, so proud of her. Kat, another previous guest, is about to launch her own podcast.
Is she?
Yeah, like there's just all of these amazing things. And I have to pinch myself and go, I get to be part of all of this. And then there's that part of me who is standing beside these people who I admire so much. And there's that part of my brain that says to me, you don't deserve to be in that circle. And do I hope that one day that won't happen for me? Absolutely. But I'm not there yet.
It's such a shame, and I've told you this many, many times. If you could just see yourself from the eyes of those people around you, you would think that you were worthy of that.
Possibly.
We think you're brilliant.
And this is why I have a strong desire to keep getting into that cold water, because if neuroplasticity is a thing, I am going to retrain this brain of mine.
Great cold water plunge analogy.
Yes.
Love that.
Because we will do it again, Megan.
We can do hard things.
We can. So all of this like reflecting on these amazing things makes me wonder what I define success as. Because we all want more money, but I'm very lucky not to need it. I don't want a mansion to live in because my homeware aesthetic is garage sale swamp witch, which is never going to look good in a fancy new house.
Garage sale swamp witch.
Yeah. Yeah, so the things in my house either come...
I disagree. You have a beautiful house. It's not what I imagine a garage sale of a swamp witch would look like.
Some people would disagree. There's a lot of crystals, a lot of wooden bowls. There's things I collect from the forest. There's just random rocks like feathers. Like I'm sure some people walk into my house and go, oh, she probably does spells.
Oh, classic swamp witch.
And realistically, I'd give the swamp witch stuff away if it meant that I could just travel in our camper van around Australia. Like the possession stuff is just not a thing for me. Travel is the one thing that I would love to do more of, and you need money to be able to do that. But then I remind myself that like I literally have access to the most gorgeous forests, a swimming hole, beautiful sunsets, all within a relatively reasonable walking distance from my own house. And my kids are thriving. I have an incredibly supportive partner that puts up with all of my harebrained ideas, and he takes care of a lot of the things because outside of my normal job, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm meeting cool people. I'm walking up creeks.
He's doing pretty cool things too.
He is doing cool things, and we do a lot of cool things together. But I do appreciate his support of these creative passions that I have. The other thing is, though, that I want to acknowledge something before I go any further, because I do know how privileged that I am to even be sitting here having a philosophical conversation about success, given that around 1 in 10 people in the world are living in extreme poverty and hundreds of millions of people don't know where their next meal is coming from. That perspective does matter to me. It doesn't erase my own struggles, but it reminds me that the fact that I get to ask questions like this sitting here in a studio with expensive mics and laptop computers is a privilege in itself. Maybe that's another measure of success I hadn't considered, having enough safety that I can stop asking how do I survive and start asking how do I want to live.
Yep. Our podcast friend Kate actually sent me an article about this week.
What? I should have known you'd come in with the facts.
I'm going to get it out. Why millennial women are quietly walking away from the careers they worked a decade to build. And it talks about, I guess, the scorecard of having that massive career and that's your success, but how after a long period of time they realise actually we've fought so hard to have it all and it actually isn't what I want. So we have such high expectations on ourselves, as well as all that our domestic duties and all of the emotional labour that comes with it. And you realise, actually, this doesn't suit my lifestyle. There's actually a bit of science in it about how a male's hormone cycle is 24 hours, which is why they can keep up with that. And our female cycle is a monthly cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So our energy fluctuates differently
Yeah,
to male.
right.
Yeah, so women are no longer sacrificing their mental health and their presence for those traditional milestones of what success looks like. We can attach it to the show notes if you're interested.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, and traditionally when you talk about success, it is this is how much money I made or this is how many downloads I've got or whatever, and actually that is not the stuff that's making you happy at all.
No, and this does make me really, really happy. Like, we have a lot of fun. I know there's parts that are really stressful, but when we're doing this, we have lots of fun. And I really like doing it.
Except when we're talking about the death of... Yes, we have fun, Shannon. Yes, we do. But what is your measure of success then? Is that where you're heading? Because I'm thinking things like having creative control over where you're going, working your own hours, and following through on those passion stories that you want to learn more about.
And I was doing anyway. That's why this seemed like a natural progression. And the natural progression is the whole point of this. Remember when you asked me, do you remember my word for the year in your Diary of episode? Do you remember what mine was? I didn't remember yours, so don't feel bad about it.
No, I do remember yours. Just give me a second. And then you had all of those other little pockets of mini goals to go under it. I do remember. What's the word?
Growth.
Good one.
And because I chose that as my word of the year, which leads us to part 2, which is growth. Because I chose that, I thought I was choosing a direction, right? What I didn't realise was that I was also asking a question, because I was trying to figure out what growth actually looked like. And you and I talked about this a lot, and I was looking to all of these outside sources for information about what growth should look like if it was going to lead to success. I didn't even know what success was. I actually listened to a lot of podcasts with really rich white males to understand what their definition of success was, and that mine probably didn't align with any of them. Because what the world will tell you is that growth looks like a promotion or a pay rise, a university degree. Growth doesn't have a finish line. And I think that's why I struggle with it. You don't just wake up one morning and think, well, that's it, I've grown. I mean, sometimes I look in the mirror and I can see.
I was thinking exactly the same thing.
Congratulations!
You grew!
But the reality of this being my focus for the year, which I probably have grown in more ways than one, is that the less certain I am that there is an end point, the more I think that maybe that's the whole point to growth. I'm going to ask you something as my friend, but also as someone who has coached me through a lot of this. When I said my word this year was growth, what did you think I was actually trying to grow?
I assumed it was personal growth. Mental health growth.
You're right.
I didn't think it was podcast growth or belly growth.
Probably the second two have been more successful than the first two. But it's right. They were the things that were flicking through my head, but I didn't really know how to do it. It was this whole, it was tied into the Chinese New Year and the year of the horse and all of the stuff, and there was this romantic idea about how I was going to go on this journey, and there was going to be, I was going to get closer to myself, and I was going to heal more, and it was all very lovely. I can't say it hasn't been successful. It is more successful than you simplifying your life. I'm succeeding more in growth than you did at simplifying the year before last.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks. Look at me, accepting compliment after I just decimate you.
You weren't wrong. I'm doing better this year.
But I started to think about recovery, right, when we go to the mental health part, because when I received my mental health diagnosis, they just said, you're going to have this for the rest of your life. There's no medication and you're just going to have to learn to deal with it. And then I heard people talk about recovery. And this year I've kind of toyed with the idea of recovery because I walked into a doctor's office just a few weeks ago and I said, I have a BPD diagnosis, but I think if I was assessed, I would actually not meet criteria for diagnosis at the current time, which is a big deal.
Amazing.
Massive deal for BPD, right? Which means I'm in recovery or remission. And I was thinking about what an interesting word that is. We use it when someone like heals after an injury or an illness, a trauma or an addiction. But maybe recovery isn't about getting back to who you were. Maybe it's about recovering the parts of yourself that life convinced you to leave behind. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about my curiosity and my compassion and my ability to feel joy, and I am pretty courageous, it made me think about success in the fact that it's not building a better version of yourself, but maybe it's remembering the person who was always underneath all the other things. And these are bits that I've pulled out of my diary, right? So I'm not actually writing a diary like you. I've pulled them out of my journal. Another thing that I pulled from there was that growing older to me means growing closer to who I am. Like I'm still learning, but I feel like I'm becoming more aligned with myself, like my values and my ethics and my spiritual awareness and my connection to others. And I'm definitely not wandering through life anymore thinking, what's the next thing I'm going to buy? The thing that I think about is I'm wondering who the next person is that I might meet, or what the next thing is that I'm going to learn, or what the next thing is that will take my breath away. Like I talk about awe a lot and what a big thing it is for me. And I think for anyone who has experienced suicidality, that book that you recommended when in your diary of a grey area drinker, and she talks about collecting glimmers.
Yes. Beyond Booze.
Beyond Booze, that's it. So I read that after you suggested it, and the thing that I took out of it was about her collecting glimmers in her everyday, because to deal with the addiction side of her personality, she had to find other reasons to find happiness, and to think that you're going to live in a state of happiness all the time, that's just delusional. But she had to find these little moments, and she called them glimmers. And that really spoke to my thing of awe. You know, we've talked about whale watching and penguins and all of the things that just give me these moments of just absolute unbridled joy. But it also happens like when I'm driving home and the sky is a pretty colour of orange, or today when I was driving here there were some really unusual clouds, like all of these little moments of awe where I go, wow. And they all come from nature, right? Like I don't ever really look at a building and go, whoa, that architecture's stunning. I know some people do, and that's great. I love that for them.
You do it about people though.
I do it about people all the time. So then to think about this, what I'm doing here as success, the fact that I just have pure delight about getting to do this, and the minute that I start paying attention to the numbers, it becomes competition, and it takes away that creative element and the capacity to experience that awe and delight. when our achievement becomes a number rather than what it felt like to make it, because there's so much of ourselves that we pour into this. Like if you think about your episode, like you really rip yourself open to talk about these things with the level of vulnerability that we do, or, you know, I'm pressing my injustice sensitivity triggers all the time, but I do it because it's something that I care about, and all of these things have tied into this thing of growth.
Well, this is teaching 101. You want kids to have that internal motivation, not external motivation.
Yeah.
You want them to want to learn. You don't want them to learn because the teacher told them they should and they're a good girl for doing that.
Yeah.
We had a very heated debate about this with a group of friends recently on art and how actually giving your external motivation thoughts on a child's art is not the best way to go, because they think, okay, I've coloured in the lines, or that's what it means to draw a good house, or I better draw more to make my mum happy. Whereas we want them to be creating art because they internally feel like they love what they're creating.
Yes. That really makes a lot of sense.
I just feel if you were in the room for that debate, it could have gotten quite heavy.
Quite possibly. And I just don't think that I ever had the confidence to think, talking about all of the things that I've had no business doing, you know, like writing a script with Emma and making a short film. And
who does have business doing that if you don't? Nobody does. Everyone's got imposter syndrome.
Everybody does, but I just don't know if it rules people's lives the same way that it does for me, and then takes any part of the success that you have from that thing and dismantles it in your own mind. Like if we take that film, if that had become a box office success and made $50 million, would that have been more important to me than the two kids who come forward? And for reference, the themes of the film was based around child sexual assault, and two of the actors that we had on that set disclosed that they had experienced child sexual assault because they had been part of that movie. Fuck the $50 million.
Yeah.
Like that is everything.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were able to have support in something that they were silent about up until that moment. So when I go back and look at all of this, nothing is about numbers. No. Everything is about connection.
Yeah.
And that is why I have succeeded, I think, with growth.
You did it.
I did it.
Well done. Say thank you.
Thank you. I was actually just going to sing the Dora Explorer song. We did it. We did it. Hey.
You know I love a bit of Japanese philosophy.
Yes.
Ikigai is one of my favourite words in the world, and basically it's a Japanese word that explains your purpose in life, and it's got this beautiful 4-way Venn diagram that overlaps, and Ikigai is basically when you find in life the thing that you love, the thing that you're good at, something the world needs, and what you can get paid for. Now, I feel like that little fourth circle seems to be a little amiss in this project here in terms of the podcast. That's why we've got to keep our day jobs.
Yes.
There's also talk about how that Japanese idea is very different to the Western idea. So for us, we would use it, you know, what do I want to be when I grow up? I've got to find this thing. Whereas for the Japanese, it's finding it in those glimmers, in every small little part of their life. So just because what we're doing right here, right now doesn't have that fourth aspect in it, it doesn't mean we're not reaching our purpose in life.
No, that's right. And I think the more that I've looked at growth and explored it over, what are we now, the 7th month of this year, it's feeling less like it's climbing a ladder and more like it's actually just settling into myself. Like I'm not chasing a destination. It's more that I'm coming home. Does that make sense?
Beautiful.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I did touch on connection, and that is the one theme that has run through my whole exploration of all of this: connection to people, connection with nature. And before anyone pictures me standing bare-breasted in a river wearing a hand-woven skirt, I'm just going to stop you there. That connection to nature for me, it's not an aesthetic, you know, and I see it, and I think that's why I felt like an imposter in that area as well, when my connection to nature is the most purest thing in my life. It was my road to recovery. It was my road to finding myself. It was where there was no expectations placed on me. And I see this nature connection thing in Western society as an aesthetic, and you would have heard me talk a lot about it with Brenda's husband, Mark, who is a white man who spends a lot of time immersed in Indigenous culture, and even the imposter syndrome I felt around that, about talking about having a connection to nature when I feel like, is there a problem with that as me as a white girl, you know, feeling connected to country?
All cultures originally felt connected to the land.
That's right. And so this is another thing that I've been exploring, and to have their input in that and going, no, this is for everybody. So I just want to be really clear about that. Like this isn't I want to talk to you about really beautiful nature things as an aesthetic. Like this shit saved my life.
We've had a few conversations about nature art and how it's imperfect, and that's what makes it beautiful. There's another Japanese word that goes with that. Is it wabi-sabi?
Yeah. Yeah. And I even struggle with that part of it because in reality I'm loud and a bit abrasive, and I'm not particularly graceful, and I say swear words, and my laugh scares birds away. I'm not your standard forest dweller, I suppose. But the best thing about that is that the forest just doesn't care. The trees aren't saying that I need to be more like them to hang out with them, which girls often do. I feel like there is permission there to kind of be more like myself, and that ties back to that original idea of recovery. You know, moving through the journeys, whether they're healing trauma or getting close to yourself, spiritual connection, understanding who you are outside of the rat race. I'm recovering those parts of myself that I've lost, that aspects of my life have taken away from me. Which brings us to part 3, which is called Looking for a Different Teacher. We're going to start this one with a question. If I asked you to point to a successful person, what would you point at?
Everyone I know.
That's pretty great. That's a nice answer.
It's a great question because I'm not surrounded by extremely wealthy people.
What aspects make you feel like they're successful? Is it like career, family, money, peace, character, or is it all of it?
I think contentment isn't the main goal in life. To be, like you said earlier, happiness all the time is not achievable. That's ridiculous. But finding moments where you can be content in those glimmers, even though you might be surrounded by shit circumstances, and most people are, that you can still find those glimmers and find a purpose for living this good life.
That is not what I expected you to answer with.
Oh.
That's okay.
What did you expect me to answer with? Was my answer wrong?
No, it was not wrong. I think it was lovely, but I expected you to say, I think it's individual.
You measure it yourself.
Or that success looks different for each one of those people, and when they feel like they're achieving it, it's when we recognise it.
Mm.
It doesn't matter what your answer is.
I don't think that all those people that I know would consider themselves as successful.
Possibly.
This is hard, Shannon. These questions are hard.
You should see the inside of my diary. And that is why I do look for a different teacher in this space. And it's why that tree I talked about in my fancy little introduction had stayed with me for so long. But every time I drive past this tree, I wonder what happened to it. If it was like a storm that had kind of knocked it over, or, you know, had another tree fallen on it, but it had started growing back up towards the light. And you know what? I had never once looked at that tree and thought, you should have grown straighter.
Mm.
I never thought that it was less beautiful because it wasn't symmetrical like the other trees. And I never thought it had failed because it had taken a different path. I had also never questioned whether it belonged in that forest. I just accepted that it had grown the only way that it knew how, and I caught myself in that. Because if I can give a tree that much compassion, why can't I give it to myself? I started wondering why I was judging my own life by standards that I would never dream of applying to anything or anyone else. And I think that is maybe my growth. That understanding that the forest doesn't measure worth the way that we do. It doesn't ask which tree is the tallest or which one grew the fastest, which has the straightest trunk. It simply allows each one to grow with the life that it was given, to adapt and survive and keep reaching for the light. And maybe that's what success feels like to me. Not becoming someone else, not reaching for some imaginary finish line, but becoming a little more myself, a little more aligned with my values, a little more curious, a little more connected, a little more willing to keep growing even when life bends me in directions I never expected. Maybe success isn't growing straight. Maybe it's having the courage to keep growing anyway. And if that's true, then I don't know why I've spent so long trying to work out what success looks like, because I think I've been living it all along.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode. If These Trees Could Talk and What Would They Say are productions of Bellevue Studio. Our host is Shannon Walters, executive and audio production by Megan Anderson, with socials and marketing managed by Mia Oberdorf. We always appreciate hearing your thoughts, so if you would like to support the show, you can rate, review and subscribe. To stay up to date between episodes, you can also find us on Instagram, Facebook and TikTok. For more information on this episode or to connect with our guests, you'll find everything you need to know in the show notes at ifthesetreescouldtalk.com.au. We're grateful to have you with us, and we look forward to sharing what comes next. Thanks for being here.